blew
Oh
me
my
over here.
gosh.
Yeah.
Is that where you live? Where are you located?
Oh, actually, no, I'm in Colorado, but we're just on vacation right now.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Well, that's fun. I'm glad you actually got a chance to hop on. But what are you doing in I guess real estate right now? What are you trying to do? What are you currently doing?
Well, when I got into real estate, I was hoping to just more like build my rental portfolio and then end up actually doing flipping instead. So I have, I mean, I started, I guess, real estate like the beginning of this year. So I have four flips, one on the market now, the other one's being completed, and then the second one I actually end up refinancing into a rental.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet. So what are you trying to do now?
That's the million-dollar question right now. So the third and fourth flip didn't really turn out the way I was expecting or hoping for. Um, so I'm kind of trying to, I guess I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, right? Because I mean, going in and hoping to build my rental portfolio, I don't want to veer away from that. I do want to continue that. But I think I have to kind of go back to the drawing board to see, do I want to dabble in a little bit of everything in real estate and, or just focus on a couple of things. And I do want to start getting my own deals. The deals that I've gotten are either off of MLS through an agent or a wholesaler.
Okay, so you want to start your own marketing?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, when you said, because you said you did a couple flips, uh, and they didn't go as well as planned, which that happened to a lot of us, even me included. The past year was rough,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
downturn. So it's normal. Like it's okay. Uh, Wrong strategy at the wrong time, like for sure. What are you planning to do now then? Because you said you're not really sure if you're doing off market stuff. Usually I kind of categorize it in this way. It's like either you're looking for money to be made fast right now, so like a
Hmm.
wholesale, probably not flip for you because as you just said, or it's like you're comfortable with your current income, you want to keep it, we don't need any additions. It's just like let's build the long term wealth. So like, what boat are
Hmm.
you in?
Um, I want to say kind of in the middle, right? Like, I mean, the goal is always to build that wealth, right? And I know that real estate is a long-term game plan, but it also makes sense to be able to get the quick money so that I can continue to get real estate, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm not trying to, so I kind of like am in that little limbo where I'm like, obviously I need to find a focus so that I can
Mhm.
focus on that. But it seems like if the deal is just too good to be true, whether it's flipping or trying to get a rental or whatever it is, like I don't want to say no to it just because my focus might be on one thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's just, are you going to be marketing in Colorado, or where have all your deals been so far?
So all of my deals are in Colorado. I do have a rental in Alabama. I do want to continue in Colorado. I mean, our market is still pretty steady.
Mhm.
I mean, of course, it slowed down a bit, but as far as like value and appreciation, it is pretty steady still. Um,
Okay.
and then potentially move over to Austin and then continue Alabama for sure.
Okay, sweet, sweet. Okay,
Hmm.
what about your marketing? So, have you started any marketing so far?
Zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it something that you're ready to start, or is there you're not starting for a reason? Like, are
Uh,
you
I
focused on
am
somewhere else?
I am ready to start. I haven't started. I mean, I know there's so many forms of marketing, and one of the forms of marketing is social media, and it's
Hmm.
one thing that I really just I don't know why I'm so scared to get into social media. I guess because I've never been one to really put myself out there,
Yeah.
and most of my social media is usually of me, of my family, or my daughter, and so I'm
Hmm.
like, it scares me to put myself out there and like do videos or just putting my face on social media really.
Yeah. Well, this could be a really good start actually because this is live on YouTube, and I chop these up into clips. So we'll be getting
Okay.
clips out of these, and there's a good chance that your face will be on some of these, depending on the clip.
Okay.
And then I can tag you as a collaborator, so then you can get posts for free. But um, yeah, with social media, it's a very long game. It's
Yeah.
it's a long game. I wouldn't expect for you to start posting marketing wise for the purpose to get deals out of it and money that way
Mm-hmm.
fast. You can get deals out of it, but it'll take time. It'll take time
Mm-hmm.
for you to build that trust with your audience and the new viewers coming in, before they start saying, "Hey, I got this deal. Do you want to partner with me?" Like that happened to me, but after like 2 years of doing it, um, and that's when people are like, "Hey, like you've been helping me. I'm a wholesaler actually in your area. I don't want to wholesale by myself. Can you help me? Let's split 50-50." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
But it took a while. So if you did want to start that, I absolutely think you should. Um, but then it comes back to the main question. It's like, what problem are you solving? What's the main goal of
Mm-hmm.
yours?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it sounds like it's more real estate related. I'm not sure though. So what's your main goal, main focus right now?
Um, as far as like in real estate, like just long
No, like
term or
every
in
like your life. Like what's in your mind? Is it your work that's taking up everything? Is it like what's your focus?
uh work is taking up a lot. So the last flip I ran into a hiccup
Mhm.
and now I'm trying to navigate through that hiccup. Definitely a lot of it is my fault. Um, and I think that when you run into it, just kind of like when it rains, it pours. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that little phase where I'm like, did I make the right choice? And I know that if I kind of just push through, I know I made the right choice because real estate is very, very interesting to me. And I know I have so much more to learn when it comes to real estate. So I guess to answer your question, I mean, my focus is at the very moment to figure out how to get this last property on the market and
Okay.
then really dive deeper into getting more deals, whether it's through wholesale or building my own team. Because I do have quite a few people who want to learn through me as well, even though they know I'm not an expert in it. So I think that's probably the starting point is building a team that, because I'm doing everything myself.
Mhm.
So doing everything myself is uh, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if
Well,
I
right
answered your
now,
question.
no, with your current flip that you have going on, it seems like it's a big
Hmm.
focus. Is it on market now?
Not yet. So I do have
Okay.
one that is on market now, yes. And then this one was actually supposed to be done last week, but we got a stop order. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay, so how how close is that one to the finish line, and how involved will you actually have to be time wise?
that one is done. It just has the
Okay.
finishing touches. That's really it, and a final walkthrough just to make sure that they have everything tightened up. But the only involvement I need to be at that point is to just make sure that my realtor gets it listed, and that's really it.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good because you said that your biggest focus is, getting this off the market, but really, it's probably the biggest focus in your head. Time
Hmm.
wise, you don't have to do much. It sounds like maybe it's a guide the contractor say, hey, here's what you have to do, like get the blue tape and whatever, walk through
Yeah.
it. But then after that, once your realtor listed, like it's just in their hands, and you maybe
Yep.
they'll like tell them they check in on you every week or whatever. So then
Hmm.
it's off your plate, and then you can focus on the marketing. I'd actually argue you can start focusing now on
Yeah.
it. Um, so what kind of off-market marketing were you thinking of doing for your deals?
Um, I mean, I guess a typical, right? Like people are thinking door knocking, sending
Yeah.
out postcards. I actually like to, I mean, I don't know how far fetched it is. I actually wanted to put in videos or have videos, QR codes on my postcards or whatever I'm sending out, and more doing an introduction, right? So they kind of have a face to a name. And then following up with potentially another postcard or, phone call. I haven't really fully thought about like the whole marketing plan from point A to point B.
Mhm.
Uh, I do have a little bit of fear of like door knocking. Um, so yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you don't have to door knock.
Yeah.
The thing about postcards too is they can get pricey, especially to
Hmm.
be my video pause, but you should be able to still hear me, right?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So postcards, yeah, they can get a little bit pricey because a lot of times like 50 cents per card, and you got to do thousands and thousands and thousands. So it's actually one of the more expensive options. You can do it, but you just have to realize its volume, and
Yeah.
you have And I don't know, I feel like if you did it, I've never done it myself on scale. I sent mail here and there in combination with mainly cold calling. Like that was my
Mm,
main thing. So I'm thinking if you're gonna do that, and the first message is just like an intro, like, "Hey, this is me," but there's no thing of like, "I'm here to actually buy your house."
right.
It'll be rough because it's usually people don't actually call that number back until they get that for multiple months, 7 months, and it's like a
Mm,
different message each time. I actually want to buy your house. I want to buy your house. I want to buy your house. And they're like, okay, I'm ready. Where's this guy's paper? Where's this girl's paper?
yeah.
Um, so that's how it works. Now, the cheapest off-market options, if you really want to go direct to seller, it's probably going to be cold calling and texting. They both will cost some money
Mm,
depending on, even if you do all the work yourself, it'll still cost money to get the data. For the most part, you don't at least get the phone numbers that cost money. You can get the data for free, and like if you went to a title company and you
hmm.
ask them to pull you up different kind of list. Now, some title reps are more open to that, some aren't. It's just a matter of finding the right one.
Yeah.
But that's probably what I'd push you towards, unless you're ready to just blast out like tens of thousands of mailers a month. That
Yeah.
like that's that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely not
how much
ready
is
for
that?
that.
Yeah, like if you sent 20,000 mailers a month, the first month times 50 cents, it's 10 grand a month. Like this stuff costs money.
Yeah.
Whereas cold calling, you're probably paying 150 bucks a month for a dialer, maybe
Hmm.
100 a month to get the data, and then free after that. It's like
Yeah.
just you calling. So 250 bucks a month versus like a that sounds, I don't know, it just sounds easier. Like I don't
Right.
know how much money you
Absolutely.
have too, so maybe.
um, Definitely not unlimited.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. Definitely for sure. Cold calling is definitely the way to get in. Uh, Now I just got to get over the fear of actually talking to people over the phone.
Oh, is that what are you scared of that?
I'm very good at having conversation, and I know a lot of times when you do cold calling, it is like conversation. You can make it conversational. Um, I just know what it's like to be on the other end when people are calling you and wanting to buy your house, and being in real estate, sometimes I still catch myself being a little rude. I'm like, don't call me, and I think that's really what like. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't know who I am. It's not gonna kill me, but just to
Mhm.
have that rejection, you're like, oh, oh. And I know with cold calling, it's gonna be rejection after rejection until you get that one yes, and
Mhm.
then that one yes should be that momentum to really keep going.
Yeah, and then the one yes that you get is just a lead. It's not a deal. It's a
See,
lead, and then you got to get multiple. You got to get hundreds of those before it probably becomes a deal.
yeah.
And it's, you know what? I understand the fear because that's where I was. I actually do a lot of the cold calls myself right now on lives on YouTube so that
Mm,
people can see what it sounds like and what it feels like. And
yeah.
I think if you watched any of those, like pick any one of them, like you'll realize, oh, it's not bad at all. Like it's probably out of every 5,000 dials or so, I might get one person that's like, I think you guys are all scum. All the real estate investors, you guys take advantage. I was like, whoa, like, but it's just, they're suffering
Yeah.
for someone to say that. It's not as bad as you think, I promise. And most people are actually like, if you answer with a smile, most people will actually be pretty receptive for
Hmm.
like a little bit. You just have a little bit of a time and attention to get to the question of like, do you want to sell your house?
Yeah.
Um, but it's not bad. I promise you. The thing now becomes like your time. Like
Hmm.
if you were to take this up, because it sounds like you had a full time gig, you have a full time job.
I do not. This real estate is actually my full time.
Oh my gosh, then this is perfect. I think you should do this then for sure. It's going to be your cheapest, and you're just sacrificing time,
Yeah.
which time is expensive. But if you wanted to get content out of it too, you can record yourself cold calling, and like,
Yeah.
and you can get clips out of it. And I know it sounds like maybe complicated or whatever, but it's a lot easier than you think. And if you wanted to do that, you can just let me know, and I'll show you how to do it. You can do it all yourself with the help of AI.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so those are my thoughts. Like texting's great too.
Hmm.
Um, then it just becomes like you have to respond to so many people, but you can definitely do it. And a lot
Yeah.
of people have had great success with it. So I don't know. After hearing those couple possible strategies, which one would you actually think about doing?
It would be the cold calling. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
cold
Okay.
calling makes the most sense, right? It's like you said, it's just time consuming, but it just, I mean, from everybody that I talk to too, that's in real estate, they always say that it's always hard to really get like a lot of the work happens in the beginning, and then as soon as all that hard work is done, everything else kind of just flows, right? Like
Yep.
you find your script that really works with everybody or for the majority of people, and then once you get into leads, then you kind of know how to do your pipeline, and then get the deal. So I, I know it's just I won't make excuses. It's not just the fear of cold calling; it's
Hmm.
how much time I know it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I definitely have an appreciation for those who do their own cold calling or even like wholesalers. It really is. It's you got to cultivate the relationships. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
if that's the route that you really want to go, I know you can do it. I know you'll crush it. It's just a matter of sticking to it. But there
hmm.
are steps to get there. So if you do this, I wouldn't advise you to just grab your phone and hand dial. I definitely
Right.
would not advise. I started that way. I did that for a long time. Um, and I still got deals that way. But once I found out about dialers and things like that, I was like, wow, I can call this many people.
Yeah.
Um, are you familiar already with the dialers and stuff like that? Or
A little bit. So I've watched a few of your videos, like on
wow.
YouTube. I see your content on Insta, and then Ryan's Ryan Panetta's team. They do the videos, so I'll watch the
Mhm.
videos, or we'll be on Zoom meetings. So I am familiar with the different things that you can incorporate to make cold calling and marketing easier,
Right. Okay,
more
perfect.
efficient.
So
Yeah.
if because let's make a game plan for you then, since and
Okay.
let's let you know, let's fully on. So you want to start the cold calling. When okay, let's talk about a timeline first. When do you think you are able to start? Like I don't know what's on your schedule right now. You said this is your full
Mhm.
time thing, so I don't know
Yeah.
what your where your schedule is at.
Um, well, I guess I really could start ASAP. I
Okay,
don't, yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna write with you.
you're good. So what if I don't know if you work weekends, but let's say you started to work Monday. Doesn't mean you have to start
Hmm.
calling Monday, but I think it'd be help to actually get your system set up by like on Monday and starting next week or now. But the first thing before even cold calling, it's a mixture of things. So you probably are going to want to get your dialer, your data provider, and your CRM. Those are the three things that you really do need. Which of those do you have set up currently, if any?
I do not have the dialer, do not have the data provider. The CRM, you could, I did look into Podio. It was, you sent it to me via Instagram a
Yeah.
while back ago.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Glad I did that.
but
And that's actually me because
yeah,
it's so hard to keep up now with those.
yeah. It was a while back. It was definitely you. And I mean, I played with it a little bit. And me and a fellow investor, we were working together for a little while with the cold calling. So I guess we started, but we didn't go all the way through. And so we were working through Podio.
Okay. Okay, so you have the CRM.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it should be free right now until you add an employee or something like
Yeah.
that. Now it's just the data and dialer. So CRM check is probably just like playing with it and like understanding it a little bit more. And the only thing that you have to understand at the beginning is just the lead section.
Yeah.
There's a tab for leads because that's where you're going to be inputting all the leads once you call. Now let's go to data. The places you can find your data, like I said, it's either you're going to pay for it with like a prop stream, batch leads,
Hmm.
list source, or stuff like websites like that. I think there's a free one called PropWire if you don't want to spend money. I'd never used it, but I've heard good things. Or you can get it for free also from your title company and just ask a
Okay.
rep, hey, can you pull a list of like these criteria? But you'd have to come up with your own criteria. So, of those, what do you think you would do?
I've actually used PopStream for a little
Oh,
while.
cool.
So I just because there was a break for all of that, I canceled my membership. And then I actually do get a small list. I mean, I get a list for like just foreclosures. I don't have anything like an actual list criteria for my agents. So they do send that to me weekly.
Okay, perfect. So you
Yeah.
probably use PropStream.
Yeah. Hmm.
Do you still have a subscription to it right now?
Um, I do not. No, I
Okay,
canceled
so
it a couple months ago.
so
Yeah.
just be joining PropStream again, and that one's like 97 a month, I think.
Yep.
Um, then it's the dialer. Do you have an idea what dialer you'd use?
I don't.
Okay, so couple options. Popular ones are like Mojo, Call Tools, Ready Mode, Batch Dialer. Those are pretty big ones. Right now, I'm using Ready Mode. I like it a lot, but it's probably like the least user friendly, especially if you're new, because
Hmm.
when I first logged onto it, I was like, what is this? I was like, where do I start inputting stuff? And they had a bunch of courses, like video course to go through, and I had to call tech support. But now that I understand it, it's like really, really nice. I
Yeah.
started with Mojo. Mojo was super user friendly. I started that when I was like brand new and I understood. I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Like you just click the button and it goes to the next person. So that was easy to use. Call Tools is pretty cool too. I've never used Batch. They're all priced similarly. So if you
Hmm.
want a triple line dialer, which I do recommend you do use, now when you're first cold calling, you're probably going to start out with a single line just because of the fear of like, oh, what if I'm calling three people at once? I get it. So you'd probably start off calling the single line, but once you use triple line, the dialers all kind of become similar priced.
So I just
So
wanted. Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So when you say triple line dialer, you're
Yeah.
saying it actually is three calls at the same time.
Yes.
And so then what happens? Like, let's say if you're making the call yourself
Mhm.
and all three people pick up.
It goes to the first person who picks up, and the other ones just
Okay.
like goes blank or cancels, and so
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. But yeah,
Okay.
that's what happens. So I know
Okay.
that's the big fear for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think it's hard for me to tell you what dialer is going to be best. I think what'll
Right.
help is if you call all of them, like their sales
Hmm.
reps, sign up for a
Hmm.
call or whatever. So that could be a task for Monday. And I'd probably be going between like it's up to you actually. You probably should call all of them.
Yeah.
Ready mode, Mojo. Mojo again is super user friendly. It's a good starter one. And call tools, batch leads. Those are good ones to start with. And just see who you think fits best. Now, the things about the dialers that I think make a big difference is actually for me, I like ones that I can actually get phone numbers from, like the numbers that I'm calling from. Because most people when they start, they anticipate just calling from one phone number, like maybe buying a Google Voice number and just calling
Mm.
from that one number, thousands of people. Well, it's hard because once you call that fast so many times from one phone number, it starts to be like very quickly spam likely from these providers, AT&T, Verizon, and no one picks up. So it helps, like believe it or not, to get 30 to 50 phone numbers. You probably just need 30 for a specific area with your area code that you're calling to. And for example, it was pretty easy with my dialer now ready mode. I just had to talk
Mm.
to the sales rep and I was like, hey, like I want to get 30 numbers, but do you guys sell numbers or do I have to go get that somewhere else, like call rail or something else? He's like, no, we actually have them. And they're not that expensive. For example, for my 30 phone numbers that I'm calling outbound to, it was like $30 to set up, $30 ongoing monthly. So they're not expensive, but it's probably the best ROI on your cold
Yep.
calling. So make sure, yeah, get multiple phone numbers. Now, if your dialer doesn't have that, like if you ask that question and they say, no, you actually had to get it somewhere else, just ask them, like, hey, what are ones that you recommend? And I've never even bought numbers like outside of the dialer, so I don't even know. But CallRail, I've heard of people doing that. Um, yeah, I think those are the main things. Like you have your data, prop stream,
Hmm.
the dialer, and these are just tasks for Monday or now. I don't know, whenever you're ready to call, just to get it set up. And I guess once you have them all set up, oh, even if you just get the data logged in, then just becomes you got to pull the data now. Do you have an idea of who you're going to go after? The kind of list, the kind of homeowners, or is it
um,
just kind of unsure?
no, I so kind of seeing how. some of the wholesalers that I'm working with, how the homeowners that or the sellers that they're coming across are definitely older homeowners,
Mm,
because we have quite a few of that. Sorry, and then potentially somebody that I don't even know if probate's the right word, but if somebody had recently passed, and then potentially anybody in distress. I guess the only way to know that is if anybody's behind on their um, payments, or
mm,
yeah, so
okay.
distress, I guess,
Yeah. So, I mean,
sellers.
I think at the beginning, there's two approaches. There's like the sniper approach and the shotgun. With sniper, where you're going super targeted, super niche. And this is actually the way I recommend for you to do is you just overlap a bunch of lists, a bunch of criteria that you think would make it even more distressed, more likely to pick up. So the probability is high, at least higher. It's never
Mm-hmm.
high, but higher that they might need to sell. And you might do this so many times, so many filters that you get like 50 people, 100 people, and you can attack that list hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a really good way. And just keep doing that multiple times. Now, over time, you're probably just going to end up doing what I'm doing and what most people are doing is you get like a massive list of 30,000 people and you just start calling because it's just once you exhaust the niche list, you're like, oh, what now? Just call
Mm-hmm.
everyone. But I think that's a good way to start. So you already understand that niche. And then it's skip tracing it. Are you familiar with the skip tracing?
I'm familiar with it very just, I mean, the basics, not
Yeah.
very in depth. Um,
Yeah, so skip tracing is just it's getting contact info with phone
mhm.
numbers or sometimes emails. Uh, most skip tracing providers, so the ones they all convert like addresses and names into numbers or contacts.
Do
They're
you
all
guys?
pretty
Oh,
similar. What's up?
yeah. I was gonna say, do you ever? I mean, obviously, the first thing is go to the phone number. Do you guys ever email?
I don't. I used to
Okay.
actually. When I started,
Okay.
I did everything. So when I had my super niche list, I attacked them hard. I called them like 10 plus times. I texted them all just as many times. I emailed them. I knocked on their door. I searched them up on Facebook because these were ones that I was like, they have to want to sell soon. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're on the 5 year tax list, about to lose their home, and like all these other criteria. And I was like, they gotta sell or else
Yeah.
they lose the home. So I was attacking it like that. I wouldn't do it for the big list, but yeah.
Okay.
And oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thinking out loud, I was just thinking, getting into this, I need to build a buyer's list.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps. I mean, I think at the beginning, just for your confidence, it would help to get a couple
Yeah.
at the beginning before I even look. This is really just for pure confidence. It's not like you need to do that, but it's just
Yeah.
help for the back of your mind. Okay, someone could buy this. Um, if you need buyers, like the lowest hanging fruit and free, cheap, hopefully you can still hear me, is
I can hear you.
just the Facebook groups of your local area. So if you go to Colorado or whatever your specific area is, real estate investors, those groups,
Hmm.
wholesaler groups, just join them and let people know you have deals coming and that you need some buyers. And then what a lot of people will just drop their numbers or emails, just try to contact them actually and talk to
For
them.
sure.
And so that you're even more confident that they will actually buy. Because a lot of them that do that, they're wholesalers themselves and they'll try to
Hmm.
wholesale your deals. So just contact them and then so you can confidently add them to your list. Another way too, and this is really great too, is just go to those in-person meetups.
Yeah.
So if you have any local that you know, like actually attend them and
Hmm.
just tell people, hey, I'm looking for buyers. Do you buy? And you can add people that way, and they'll probably give you advice too, which is even better. So, oh, we were on
Yeah.
skip tracing too. Did that
Yeah.
part make
We're
sense
sorry.
though? The
It did make
buyers.
sense.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah. As far as the skip tracing go, and well, why does it keep doing that? Sorry.
It's
Um,
okay.
for the skip tracing, they all are pretty similar, like all the price points, whether it's 3 cents a skip or 12 cents a skip, they're all pretty similar. So I don't want you to think that if just because you pay higher, it's better numbers. It's like they
Hmm.
all pull from similar data. The places you can skip trace, PropStream has one itself. It's like 12 or 13 cents a skip.
Hmm.
There's another one called like Kind Skip Tracing, 3 cents a skip. So it's the cheap one. that works. I think Ryan's even coming out with one AI, wealthy AI. It's like 5 cents a skip. I'm pretty sure they use the same stuff as Kind,
Yeah.
but I mean, everything's going to be the same. So you just have to skip it. You got to find the
Yeah.
phone numbers. And then once you have that list, you just import it into your dialer. And now you are
Hmm.
fully like 100% ready to go.
Okay, so I assume all the dialers that you had suggested, they all are compatible with skip tracing, like to import it in. I guess is what I'm
Oh,
asking.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They have to be because they assume that you're going to be calling lots of people. But yeah, I mean, what kind of questions do you have now? Because I think if you do this starting whenever you want to start, whether it's now,
Mm,
whether it's Monday, you should be ready to go cold calling pretty soon. And then it's the fear of like, you might tell yourself, I'm going to start cold calling now on Tuesday because everything's all set up. It's good to go at 8 a.m. And then 8 a.m. comes. And then you're like, oh, maybe I got to do the social media thing. Or like, it's going to happen. I promise you. It's just the best advice I have is once you feel that, call one person, just one.
yeah. Okay.
Because once you call one dial, you're just like, okay, like, and talk to one person. Maybe that's the best thing is then you're going to realize, oh, it's not too bad. So just make
Yeah.
one dial and it'll like the momentum adds up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. But so it seems so you do text messaging marketing, it sounds like.
No, I do cold calling.
Only cold calling, no text messaging
Yes.
at all.
No,
Okay.
not the mass ones.
Okay.
We have another coach in the program who does that a lot. It's Abel. You definitely
Uh-huh.
want to talk to him too,
I
if you
I
want
mean
to
I've
do
seen
that.
his videos. Okay.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure if like you did this did you so you only do cold calling. And then do you have a team now too, or is it just you still?
Right now, it's just me. It used to be a
Oh
bigger
wow.
team. It was rough last year. I'll be honest. Like with
Okay.
a lot of other flippers, like you experienced it, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people they're staying quiet about it. But like I'm being vocal. I'm like, no, like, I know people are hurting still. I still talk
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of students or friends. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm like still getting out of this rut. I'm like, I get it. Like, it's understandable. So I actually downsized a lot. Like
Okay.
a lot. Like it's just me for everything and I'm grinding. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
Saturday and I started work at 5 a.m.
Oh
We're
man.
working on the social media stuff and then start 8, you do the cold calls and then here. Like so yeah, it's everyone has to go through that period and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. And you're still
but
focused on I think you were in the Bay Area, right?
no, I'm Fresno, California.
Fresno. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you're vocal about it because I feel like that's kind of where everybody, I mean, nobody ever wants to say that they're struggling in business, right? Or really talk about the hard stuff. And I think, yeah, that's really good. That's
Well,
awesome.
it's hard. It's a shot to
Yeah.
the ego, and for me especially, like for I've been doing this for 5 years now. I actually just saw my oldest story. I was like, whoa, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I was like, wow, I've been crushing it for 5 years, and I saw everything tank. And
Mm,
a lot of my identity was tied up into being good at the real estate investing, being smart and intelligent. And when all that
mhm.
happened, I lost all this money. It's like, dang, like, who am I? Like, am I actually smart? Am I actually intelligent? And it was a shock for sure.
Oh,
Uh
Um, yeah. I mean, you definitely are smart and intelligent. And I think they say, because it's like, what is that, the imposter syndrome, right? So I
yeah,
think
that's what it felt like.
yeah, I think I saw a video that said whenever you're experiencing your imposter syndrome, it's usually because your competence is higher than your confidence. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. Um, so I
Hmm.
mean,
That's really interesting. I like that.
yeah. So,
But the thing that
uh,
I recently learned too is that if we want to become people that are great at going through the tough times, coming out on top and being resilient and being strong and confident, like we don't get that without the hard times.
hmm
So like you can't choose I want this without this. You have to
yeah,
have both. And so that's why whenever I talk to new people who are like, "Yeah, I want all this stuff." And I'm like, first thing is like, "Are you sure? Like, do you?" Like cuz you'll have to go through some hard times. And
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we got on this call. Your text message actually came at a really good time.
Oh, good.
just I'm still with me dealing with everything. I was like, that's this hard time. Like, did I make the right choice?
Yeah.
Is this exactly what I wanted to do? And then you talking about this whole marketing thing, it's I appreciate it because it really is the one thing that I've been needing to do, but I have not been doing. So,
Yeah. I heard a really good quote. I think it was Alex Hormozzi's, but I heard it from a different guy on a podcast,
uh,
Chris something. It was all, or it was like, the magic lies in the work you're avoiding. And so everyone knows what they need to do. Everyone.
hmm
And so I'm sure
hmm
you do too. Me too. And it's as soon as I start to feel like I'm avoiding something, I'm like, I got to do it. I have to do it because I know
yeah.
it's going to get me what I need.
Well, I appreciate that because it's true. I am avoiding a lot to the point where I told I had to get some asbestos testing, and I told him I was like, "Can you just hold the report till Monday? Because I really don't want to hear any
Yeah.
news right now this
Yes.
weekend." So I appreciate it now, and I'm sorry to hear that it was rough, but I am certain you're going to kill it. I
Me.
mean,
Thank you. Yeah.
so
And it's a good thing. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah.
It's hard to see it as good when it's happening, but it's for sure good. Is there anything else that you need advice on or to talk about? Because I know you said you were talking about social media, and that's something that I really preach too. So like, I didn't know how serious you were about when you said that. If like it's something you actually want to continue doing.
No, I really, really do. Like even in these type of situations, right? Like we always see
Mhm.
people start their social media when they've already made it, when they've already figured
Yeah.
out, for the most part, everything. Now I'm like, maybe my niche is from the starting point till now. So you can see all the hiccups, all the roadblocks, and like maybe actual phone calls with lenders or my contractor, so that people can really hear like it's it's never anything in real estate, anything that can happen always happens.
Yep.
I feel like, right? And my first deal was a slam dunk. It was so easy. It was so easy. So I was like, oh, okay, I got this. Because everyone always says your first one is the one that you always lose the
Hmm.
most. And I was fortunate enough to have it easy. Then the second one was pretty easy. So I was like, okay, I got this. But to answer your question, yes, social media, it's just a matter of being in front of the camera and then deciding, do I want them to follow the journey with me, which I do because I think people will appreciate that.
Hmm.
And then how that kind of looks, right? Like I have a hard time recording myself on any type of video. So
Gotcha. Well, it's cool because this is all recorded, so
yeah,
it's you got to get thrown into it.
yeah.
What? Okay. Is this something that you're actually wanting to start, or is it just something that you're like planning? You're not. It's not as certain as the real estate stuff right now, because you can do both at once,
Oh
and this is
no,
your full time thing.
yeah, I do. That's why I took the first step. I deleted everything personal on my Instagram. So there's
Wow.
zero anything. Um, and actually, all my friends and family, they're always like, we don't see you post anything anymore. So what's going on?
Let me see your Instagram actually. I don't even know if I follow you. Nina
Yeah,
Tan.
yeah. I think it's
Okay.
Nina Tan one
Okay.
eleven.
Oh, so yeah,
Yeah,
you deleted everything. Zero posts. 'Cause I just followed you. Okay.
awesome.
What? Okay.
Yeah,
What would you post? We can talk about this too because I think a lot of times it's other stuff we're avoiding is like sometimes if the moment you say it out loud, it
yeah.
just becomes easier. Like, oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought. And all this. So, what kind of content would you? You said maybe share the journey of what you've learned so far, but would
hmm
it be videos? Would it be like TikTok ones where you're sitting in front of the camera? Would it just be long form, or like what would
I
it?
mean, I don't want it to be long form. I would, like you were saying, you can get a lot of like different clips from the videos that you're recording, and then that could be your content. So definitely see the strategy in that. Everything real estate, right? So like I guess right now with my flip journey, I could talk to them about that, or even how one property was supposed to be a flip, and I end up being able to I put enough equity into it that I was able to cash out refi,
Oh,
and then
cool.
find a renter. Um, just very educational because I think my goal, besides building that wealth, is to be able to help other people build that wealth because I truly, truly believe. that anyone and everyone can get into real estate if they
Hmm.
wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's
So,
just work.
hmm
Um, and you'd make, okay, what's the first video you would make? Piece of
I
content. It
guess
doesn't have to be video.
I guess why I started real
Yeah.
estate. Yeah.
Maybe like an introduction even of like, hey, this is what my page is going to be about. So it might be some
Yeah.
thoughtfulness of
Yeah.
what will I talk about. Um, yeah, I think you can do that. Like, and the thing that I want to tell you is that don't worry about perfection.
hmm
Everyone at the beginning is like, oh, do quality over quantity. It's like unless you have really good experience with some type of movie or filming, creating content, like understanding watch time retention, like you won't know what quality is. It's like you have to do the work. Just post. So you
Yeah.
can literally pick up your phone and say, "Hey, here's my name's Nina. Here's what my channel's gonna be, or here's what my Instagram's gonna be about now. Hope you enjoy the journey." Like something simple, and
Yeah.
it'll just get you going and get you rolling, and then you'll figure out the rest. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong if all your videos are like this. There's nothing wrong with that. I did that for a long time, and people still watched, and I still got followers and all that. Um, so I would just start that.
Yeah.
Now, I do realize because you do plan on attacking cold calling, we didn't talk about the volume yet. How many hours a day do you think you could realistically set aside for actually doing your marketing, your cold calling?
I would say, if I'm being realistic, so my daughter is actually going to start driving. Well,
Mm.
she's going to test for her driver's license at the end of this month, which will free up a lot of time for me. Um, so I'm going to speak in terms of that because that has been the biggest roadblock with this real estate journey is having to be like stop everything I'm doing and then go get her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say I want to dedicate about I don't want to shoot myself in the foot because I'm not going to sit here and say something and actually no, if I say it to you, I'll hold myself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I want to start at least 2 hours a day in the beginning and then progressively go up.
Okay, so my next question to you is if you did commit 2 hours a day, like on, okay, not Monday, because, well, maybe if you do figure out all your stuff and your
Mhm.
platforms early, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Let's say you figure that out, and Tuesday you're calling 2 hours, the first 2 hours. What is the rest of the workday going to be?
Man, yeah. I definitely got to figure out my social media. Um, when you're saying it out loud, I'm like, dang, there's so much time in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking these questions in this order
Yeah.
because I want you to realize because I'm not gonna say, "Hey, I think you can do more." I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say, "What do you think you're gonna do with the rest of the time?" And
Yeah.
it just puts it in perspective. Is we got a lot of time.
Do you do your cold calling? Like, do you break it up through
Yeah,
the day? Okay. So I guess I didn't think of it in terms that way, but it makes sense. You've been working since 5 a.m. So
yeah,
um, I would say if that's the case, I would say let's start at 4 hours. And then with the rest of the day, I do have to figure out my social media and how
yeah,
that's going
yeah.
to look. Um, and then I would say also building my network. I mean, I do go to these events. I just don't go enough and really reaching out to all the people I've actually connected with and kind of see how everybody's doing. Um, and then I do like to shut off around like 5 or 6 when my daughter is
Yeah.
off as well. So
Makes perfect. See, that sounds a lot more reasonable. Like I can picture your day happening now.
yeah.
Um, and it could be a variety of things like cold calling. Legally, you're only supposed to be calling 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the
hmm
recipient time. So it's just finding a way to squeeze it in that. And if you're shutting off by 5, then 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Like you have to find a
Yeah.
way to squeeze that in that time. Do you use a calendar of any sort or like organization
Um,
planner,
yeah, I've been using my calendar now that my days are filled. Well, they were filled up into recently, but yeah, I do use a calendar.
like Google Calendar, or like what kind of
Yeah,
calendar?
just Google
Okay,
Calendar. Yeah.
I think here's what I realistically do want you to do. I want you to look at the calendar and like plan out every day of next week. And
Okay.
just try over your work schedule at least. And even if you know you're doing something that's not at the time that you're supposed to be doing, like just like you can adjust the calendar and just see where your time is really being spent at. Even if it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, why did I spend 2 hours eating by myself? Like, what, was I avoiding the cold calling? Look at it, write everything, say eating when you do the stuff, and you'll realize, oh, like I'm given this time, and like I have to earn being able to shut off at 5 and be with my daughter and
Mm-hmm.
hang out. So I think this is super reasonable. I think it's going to be great. Cold calling, few hours, social media, part networking now. When you have that dead space and you're like, okay, I think I figured out my social media thing, or at least my game plan. Maybe I made my content for the day. Maybe I networked enough that I wanted to. It's like, well, I got some dead spaces. Like you can either learn more about other things that you're trying to do, or do the one thing that you know you need to be doing that you're avoiding, which is more cold calling. Because realistically, 4 hours a day is actually pretty solid, like really solid if you can stick to it. I
Yeah.
think 6 is even better. Like that's the that's just the general thought. And it doesn't have to be all at once. You can mix it throughout the day in hour increments,
Yeah.
2 hour. Uh, but yeah, I like this game plan. I think if you stick to it, you'll crush it.
I think
Um,
so too.
have you cold called before at all?
Um, I've done cold calling in like a past job for like sales.
Like a
So I
product?
guess yeah, product, yeah.
Okay. Did you
Yeah,
like it?
so
Was it hard, or what was it like?
I did not like it wasn't hard because most of the time like the list was already like a niche list, so I knew that they needed what I was selling to them. Um, but I will have to say I didn't stay in that position very long because I did get promoted pretty quickly after that. Um, so I mean, I guess where my point is that it did give me the confidence that I can solve people's problems. And I am a problem naturally. I am a problem solver.
Hmm.
Um, Now, relaying that and doing that with people who are potentially losing their home or in distress, I get very, I don't want to say emotionally involved, but I guess I could say that because, my family, we went through foreclosure when I was younger. So it makes me a little like I'm more relatable, but then I'm like, am I hearing their problem or am I getting too deeply involved that I think I'm hearing the problem, if that makes sense, and I might be solving the wrong problem. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think you're overthinking it. I think you'll be
yeah.
okay. I think if
Okay.
you have done this before, and even products harder, like cold calling for homes, it's easy because you're not selling anything, and
It's
people are
true.
much nicer that you're not selling anything. Like I promise you, it's gonna be so much nicer when they're like, "Hey, what's this about?" Because that's what they always ask, and you're like, "Oh, I actually wanted to see if you sell your home," or however you word it,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, actually, no, I'm not selling this one. Sorry." And then it's another question of, "Well, do you happen to have any others you might want to sell?"
Mhm.
No, it's like, "All right, have a good one." Like it's so much easier than I can imagine than calling and trying to sell a product that they don't need.
Yeah. You're right. No, you're right. So then is that kind of how your flow goes? You're not really trying to, I guess you can't pressure into somebody to sell in their home, but you don't try to dive a little deeper. Maybe they're saying they're not trying to sell they aren't ready to sell they're not ready right now to sell their home versus they do need to sell their home.
No, I don't. It's so
Okay.
here's exactly how it sounds like. So let's say imagine you're this homeowner. I'm actually curious to see how you respond. But let's say you're like, "Hello," like you can start it off. So you say hello. I'm
Hello.
like, "Hey, Nina."
Hello. Hi.
It's and most sellers will say something like, "Who's this? Like, what's this
Who's
about?" Like
this?
that's
Yeah.
usually the
Yeah.
they're like, "Hello," and they're like, "What? Who is this?" We're like, "Oh, it's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time." So
No.
I'm making an assumption instead of asking, "Is this a bad time for you, or is it a good time for you?" It's really easy
Okay.
for them to say, "No, it's actually not a good time. See ya." So when I make an assumption, probably caught you at a bad time, and it's like kind of bummed. I'm bummed out too. I'm like, probably caught you at a bad time. Assumption, no question at the end, no upwards inflection.
Yeah.
They'll say, actually, it's fine, but what is this about? That's
Hmm.
always kind of what they say. And then it's like, hey, I don't know if you can help me. I'm trying to reach the owner of 123 Main Street. And I just wait to confirm if that's them or if it's not them. And if it is them, they'll usually say something like, well, that's me. Or sometimes they'll be tricky and like, well, what's this about? I'm like, are you the owner? And I want to confirm before I say anything.
Yeah.
And if it's like, hey, what's this about? Um, or they say, yeah, that's me. I would make another assumption of you're probably not interested in selling it, and they'll either say yes or no. And it's so much like I got this wording from because I took sales training from Steve Trang, the disruptors
Mm-hmm.
coaching. Really good. It was really good, and it actually made all the calls so much easier and less aggressive from the other side
Yeah.
because of all the wording. So when I make that assumption, and the science behind that or psychology is that when you say something wrong on purpose in front of someone, they'll try to correct you because people just like to correct and feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
So if you make that assumption, you're probably not interested in selling. They'll if it is a yes, they do want to sell. They're like, well, actually, I might, and that's when you can open up. But the most of the calls, like 99% of the calls, you're just trying to disqualify people fast. So if they say
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, I'm actually not interested in selling this one, I just move on to the next question. It's like one or two other questions of, would you happen to have any others that you might want to sell? And they'll say no or yes. Or and if they're super receptive and like very kind, I might ask another question of like, would you happen to know of any like vacant houses in the area, the neighborhood that are beat up that
Mm-hmm.
you know I might be able to contact? And no, it's like, all right, have a good one. So you're just trying to move on to the next one until someone says yes.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I'm glad we talked volume, but if you're calling 4 hours out of the day, for me at least, I might, if I'm cold calling with the triple line dialer and it's one that automatically dials, so I don't have to click every single time it goes to the next person, though it just
Mm.
automatically calls three at once all the time. Um, I probably get around 500 to 600 contact or not 500 to 600 dials every hour.
Oh,
So every single hour, and if I don't know exactly a contact for every thing, but for 6 hours of cold calling in a day, it's about 150 contacts.
yeah.
So if you're calling four, that's two-thirds. So like 100 contacts, most likely, depending on your list and whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like that's what you can probably realistically expect.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I guess the leads just depend on how well you do speaking to them, but I don't think you'll have
Mm-hmm.
any issues at all. We have an advantage because we speak good English, or at least
Mm-hmm.
we sound American. And because a lot of them, they'll tell me, "Where are you located?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Clovis." And I'll say, "Oh, I keep getting these calls, but these people sound like they're from I don't know where." Because everyone uses VAs, and they don't get
Yeah.
VAs with good accents or good American accents, um, and it hurts them. So I don't think
Mm-hmm.
you'll have any issue. I think you know what you need to do now. It's just
Yeah. It's
yeah.
just
So
doing it.
yeah. So yeah, those action steps is go through the calendar and just schedule all your stuff,
For sure.
the CRM dialer data, get that set up, get the list pulled, start calling.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, very straightforward. It's just the action. That's all. That's just putting it into play.
Yeah. Does that
Yeah.
make you feel better or does it make you feel more nervous now that you have a plan?
No, it makes me feel better. It's always good
Okay.
to write things down, right? And I'm trying to get in the habit of that. That anytime I have something, even if it's like avoiding or trying to move next to the next step in my real estate investing journey, I do like I always am better at word vomiting and then organizing everything. So no, it definitely feels a lot better to have this plan.
Yeah. Are you on a pen and paper too?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always.
No, me too. It just feels good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And what do you have any other questions or are you curious about anything else? Because we do have time. My 11:30 guy canceled and we rescheduled for the next day. Um, just what anything. It doesn't have to be technical. It could be things that you're going through that you're just working through. Like it's okay to be vulnerable and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like since this is like a life thing and it's hopefully other people can learn from what I'm going through. So the last property that I have, I did not pull permits because like I mean, I don't know in Fresno, but out here, out in Colorado, especially in the Denver County, we're looking at weeks or even months before you can even like get a permit, or even just to even get your file to be looked at before they even say, okay, your plan is approved. Now we're going to come out for inspections. And so this is, I got a stop order, like, so we can't do any work on it. And now I'm kind of in a position where I don't want to be dishonest, but I definitely got an inspector that is by the book. And I've heard horror stories where people had to break through the walls to get approved.
Wow.
So I'm taking the first step, which is the asbestos testing, which I think is one of the biggest things for him, for the inspector and the city. So I'm not too concerned about that. And the only two major things that we end up doing was breaking down a little wall and egress windows. So I know he wants me to get a structural letter, engineering letter, or drawing just to make sure that everything is still intact. But I guess my other roadblock is how completely honest, because everything is done right, right? I'm like not worried about that, but do I tell him and then risk him saying, okay, well, we got to see behind those tiles that you did do rock and waterproofing. And then with the electrical out in Colorado, I don't know if it's in Fresno or California, um, it has to be a license. It, even if you're the general contractor for your home, it has to be a licensed electrician that pulls those permits.
Hmm.
And it's usually only a master electrician that could do that. So that's the other thing I'm kind of running into. We didn't do
Wait,
anything major. We just added some can lights, but it's still electrical.
wait. So who would you tell that thing to? Was it your inspector, or like that we did work behind? Who would you tell that stuff to?
Well, the inspector kind of, are you asking who did I say that to get
Who are
advice,
you?
or who?
Because you were asking like, oh, should I tell him? I was like, who? Like the
Yeah, the
inspector?
inspector. Yeah.
No, I just let the inspector do the thing, like because that's their job to figure
Yeah.
out what they need to figure out.
That is what everybody is kind of telling me. Um, the the downside is because this home was only, we closed it at the end of July, so it's very, the photos were still up and he was going through photos. Um, but I just don't know how he would determine whether or not if work was done. You know, if he's only basing it off of photos, then work was done. But
Oh, I don't know.
yeah,
For I've never talked to an inspector in the sense of like, here's all the things we did. I just, hey, I need an inspection, because
yeah,
it's their job to figure it out. Because if you're reselling the home on market, that's what the other inspector is going to do, and they're going to have the same information, no information, just what
mm-hmm,
they can see. And if your inspector's a good inspector and he doesn't find anything, then you should be good, unless the other
mm-hmm,
inspector's even better. And I don't know. But yeah, I I don't think you need to.
yeah. Everyone's saying avoid as much as you can. Just let him do his job. If he asks for something, then go that route versus
Yeah,
disclosing anything to him. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. That's
yeah.
that's how it should be. And it's not even,
Okay.
it's not like unethical at all too. It's just normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many people do work on their homes without permits through the lifetime of its home, you know? Um, I just don't want to have to rip down those walls because that would be expensive.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious with did you learn anything from the past couple flips that, you said didn't go too well? Like what was the cause of profit not profiting? Or
Well,
I don't know if you did profit.
yes. So the first
Okay.
first two ones I definitely did. The third one is still on the market, um, which is actually one of my more expensive ones. Um, I guess what I learned from that was, one, get better contractors, because I ran into a hiccup because I had a crappy contractor. He did good on my one of my properties, so I let him take on this one, and then he ended up not doing any work for about a month and a half, and so that's not good. And then because he didn't do the work for that month, I end up having to bring in other people, and this time I just hired a whole bunch of subcontractors. But by that point, oh, and then I brought in a second one, and they end up being just as bad. So by that time, I was already, I want to say, 60K in, and the house was not even, it was still a demo, it feels like.
Wow.
Um, and then finally end up doing a whole bunch of subcontractors and working on the home by myself with a friend who does remodels. So for a month and a half, we were there day and night, just working, just getting it done ourselves. Um,
Wait, what did you do? Like you did the labor?
I did the labor. I
What were
had
you
to
doing?
um, most of the tiling. Um,
Oh, that's hard
yeah,
work.
it's very hard work. It was definitely most of the tiling I did, and touch up, a lot of touch up.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so the lesson is to make sure that you have good contractors and to
Mhm.
be on top of it. Like, I actually noticed immediately, pretty quickly, that the first contractor should have been gone a while ago, but I didn't trust my instinct and allowed it to just keep going. So the second one, I was able to kind of eliminate a little bit quicker. Um, and then for this other flip, I would say the lesson here is Prob- probably pull permits if you could, or at least put it in that in the process. Um, and then probably tell my contractors to not work until 10 p.m. to get things going to finish, because I think that's what really happened. I mean, they were working for 2 months and nothing, and I think it was because of the late nights. They just wanted to get the project done, and I think that didn't go well with some of the neighbors. So somebody in the
Oh.
neighborhood was the one that mentioned that we were working without permits. So,
Oh, so that's what happened.
hmm,
That's a bummer. That's a good lesson, actually.
go
I
make
haven't had.
friends with your neighbors.
No, that's a big thing too. Is let the neighbors
Yeah,
know. But yeah, I don't think
yeah,
most of my contractors don't work loud at night. They all work afternoon, morning. Dang,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
No,
My
neighbors cause issues.
all the time. So I was just kind of surprised why it took them so long, but I think it was like I was saying, I think it's because they were working really late, and that was the issue. So
Meaning only working at night?
no, they were working from day and night. It's because
Oh,
he had another project that he wanted to get started. So he knew that in order to do so, he had to finish my project within our contract time, which was actually this Friday. And so that's why they were just working long, late hours. So I guess the other lesson is, I mean, there's so many lessons, right? I should have had him communicate with me that he was working that late so that I can make sure I was okay with it. I didn't realize he was working that late until this whole thing happened. I was like, oh, I thought you were just working till like 6 or 7, it's still daylight. We're okay. He's like, no, sometimes we're here till 10 p.m. I was like,
dang.
okay, then that makes sense.
Yeah. Now it's
Um,
like setting expectations early on. It's like, hey, like when you work on the
mm-hmm,
houses, ideally you're working daylight hours so that we're not
mm-hmm,
bothering neighbors.
mm-hmm,
Finding contractors and understanding what other projects they might have going on is a big one
mm-hmm.
too. I've learned that. I'm like, where are you guys at? Like, we're like,
Yeah,
oh, we're at this project. Like, that's not mine. So, um, those are huge. But I love
yeah,
that. Yeah, so many lessons in one.
yeah.
Anything else that you're just wanting to talk about or need help
No, I
on?
think not for now.
Okay.
I'm gonna get this action plan thing going and then see, you know, where it goes from there.
I love it. Well, I'm super happy
Yeah,
for you and proud of you because we
thanks.
went through a lot actually. Like
Yeah,
we went through everything,
yeah.
and I think you're ready to go. It's you have the knowledge. Now there's no excuse. It's just doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how you feel, that's the hard thing. Because at the beginning you probably do it for a week or two, feels great, and then maybe you don't get sleep one night or
Mm,
something. Just like the works has to keep going. It's not about doing your best. It's about doing what's required. And
yeah,
what's required is those hours.
yeah,
So that's a pill to swallow for sure because it's hard. I get it, but I know you can do it.
yeah. And I needed to hear it anyway. I knew that this is what I need to do. So,
Good. Well, how long have you even been in the program? I don't even know.
oh, I think my year is coming up at the end of this month.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Um, probably should have. I probably should have logged on more. I stopped logging in 2 months into the program. So,
No, that's okay. I mean,
yeah,
that's how it usually goes. Is like you learn enough to do the action, and then you just
yeah,
go. Because once you
yeah,
know what to do, you just need action, and then
yeah.
it's like tinkering and tweaking stuff. It's like, hey, I did this
Hmm.
wrong. How do you fix this? Um, so really cool. If you need anything else, just let me know. You can text me. We'll hop on another one of these if you need.
Cool.
Um,
I
but
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy I got to meet you.
Same.
Hopefully, you get to meet you in person too. I don't know if you're going to the next mastermind or WealthCon or whatever they call it.
Not probably not, but probably the next event or something like that. But I'm sure we'll
Nice.
cross paths.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if like you said, if you need anything, let me know. But good
Okay.
chatting with you, Nina.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate your time.